All right, this is Brother Q, and we're coming back for part 2 of the Christian Black Codes. Now, previously, I left off at Article 13 of the Christian Black Codes of 1724. Okay, so we're going to pick up right where we left off and get it going. Here we go. Article 14. Masters who shall be convicted of having permitted or tolerated such gatherings as aforesaid, composed of other slaves than their own, shall be sentenced individually to indemnify their neighbors for damages occasioned by said gatherings, and to pay, for the first time, a fine of 30 lira, and double that sum on the repetitions of the offense. We forbid Negroes to sell any commodities, provisions, or produce of any kind without the written permission of their masters, or without wearing their known marks or badges. And any person purchasing anything from Negroes in violation of this article shall be sentenced to pay a fine of 1,500 lira. Articles 16, 17, 18, and 19 provide at length for the clothing of slaves and for their sustenance. Article 20. Slaves who shall not be properly fed, clothed, and provided for by their masters may give information thereof to the Attorney General of the Superior Council, or to all the officers of an inferior jurisdiction. We declare that slaves have no right to any kind of property, but that all they upon which information, and even ex officio, shall the information come from another quarter, the Attorney General shall prosecute said masters without charging any cost to the complainant. It is our will that this regulation be observed in all accusations for crimes, barbarous and inhumane treatment brought by slaves against their masters. Article 21. Slaves who are disabled from working either by old age, disease, or otherwise, be the diseases incurable or no, shall be fed and provided for by their masters. And in case they should have been abandoned by said masters, said slave shall be adjudged to the nearest hospital, to which said master shall be obliged to pay 8 cents a day for the food and the maintenance of each one of these slaves. And for the payment of this sum, said hospital shall have a lien on the plantation masters. Article 22. We declare that slaves have no right to any kind of property, but that all they acquire either by their own industry, or by the ability of others, or by any other means or title whatever, shall be the full property of their masters. And the children of said slaves, their fathers, mothers, their kindred, or other relation, either free or slave, shall have no pretensions or claims thereto, either through testamentary, nor positions, or donations inter vivens, which dispositions and donations we declare null and void, and also whatever promise they may have entered into by persons incapable of disposing anything and or participating to any contract. Sounds like probate. Article 23. Masters shall be responsible for what their slaves have done by their command, and also for what transactions they have permitted their slaves to do in their shops, in the particular line of commerce with whom they were entrusted. And in case said slaves should have acted without order or authorization of their masters, said masters shall be responsible only for so much as has turned to their profit. And if said masters have not profited by the dining or transaction of their slaves, the procurium which the masters have permitted the slave to own shall be subjected to all claims against said slaves, after deduction made by the masters of what may be due to them. And if said per curiam should consist in whole or in part of the merchandises in which the slaves had permission to traffic, the masters shall only come in for their share in common with the other creditors. Article 24. Slaves shall be incapable of public functions and of being constituted agents for any other person than their own masters, with powers to manage or conduct any kind of trade, nor can they serve as arbitrators or experts, nor shall they be called to give their testimony either in civil or in criminal cases, except when it shall be a matter of necessity, and only in default of white people, but in no case shall they be permitted to serve as witnesses either for or against their masters. When we go to court, we are not allowed to present ourselves. Let's say that again. When we go to court, we're not allowed to present ourselves. We have to be represented. Could this be a version of that? Let me go back and say that again. Article 24. Slaves shall be incapable of all public functions and of being constituted agents for any other person than their own masters, with powers to manage or conduct any kind of trade, nor can they serve as arbitrators or experts, nor shall they be called to give their testimony either in civil or in criminal cases, except when it shall be a matter of necessity, and only in default of white people. But in no case shall they be permitted to serve as witness, either for or against their masters. Let that sink in a little bit. Does that sound like our judicial system this very day? I'm just saying. Article 25. Slaves shall never be parties to civil suits, either as plaintiffs or defendants. Nor shall they be allowed to appear as complainants in criminal cases, but their masters shall have the right to act for them in civil matters, and in criminal ones to demand punishment and reparation for such outrages and excuses as their slaves may have suffered from. Wow. I don't think I'm going to go any further than that today, but I'm going to go over that again. Slaves shall never be parties to civil suits. In propria persona, either as plaintiffs or defendants, nor shall they be allowed to appear as complainants in criminal cases, i.e., the state of versus John Doe, not the parents of Trayvon versus, but the state of versus Zimmerman. Just a thought. But their masters shall have the right to act for them in civil matters and in criminal ones, to demand punishment and reparation for such outrages and excesses as their slaves may have suffered from. At this time, I'm going to allow you to ponder what we've gone over. And I want you to look at the laws of your state and the municipality in which you live and function. And ask yourself, based on what I just read and part 1 of this series, how much of what was done to our ancestors is still on some level being done to us today? And what are some solutions to the issues at hand? Let us refer back to Buzzard Gulch Part 1, 2, and 3 of my series, Buzzard Gulch. Let us review our options and know that it's time for us to perhaps exodus the places where we live, to go into the surrounding counties, begin to purchase land, begin to barter, buy and sell amongst ourselves. Not to hate anyone, but to build up wealth, to build up alliances, to begin to be self-sufficient, self-reliant. These are just my thoughts. What say you? This is Brother Q. Let's come back for part 3 and finish off the Christian black codes and how it affects us to this very day. See you soon.